Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Reds Rundown podcast, hosted by two lifelong Reds fans and journalists. I'm Rob, he's Joe, and we appreciate you taking the time to join us today. Joe, how was your weekend?
It was good. I know a lot of people on Reds Twitter are mad about this team, mad about lineup decisions, mad about Nick Krall, mad about ownership, and that's fine. But we have some competitive baseball in mid-August right now. We're only 1.5 games back, and I'm going to enjoy this. So, there's complaints we'll have, but I'm going to try to be more positive myself. I have some critiques of this team and things I think they should do, but I'm ready to roll.
Yeah, I am too, and we've got a lot to go over today. A little bit of time to do it, so we're going to hop into it here. Today we're going to go over injury updates, big ones. We're going to check in with the acquisitions from the trade deadline. We're going to talk about the playoffs and where everybody's at right now. And then we're going to head into the Phillies and the Brewers, Joe. Question of the day is going to be, let us know in the comments section below. Make sure you guys like and subscribe as well. Do it. Please. Join us. Join us every week. We enjoy doing this podcast, and we especially enjoy it if you guys are interacting and letting us know what your thoughts are. So let us know, do you think the Reds are going to make the playoffs? And give us your prediction for this week in terms of the record for the team. Big week coming up here for our Cincinnati Redlegs. Let's just talk about the games from this week, Joe. We started off against the Cubs. We knew it was going to be a tough series, but the Reds went ahead and got it done. Michael Soroka, his first start with the Cubs, unfortunately ended pretty quickly. He hurt his shoulder, I believe it was, Joe, which was obviously a bummer for them. Ladola would also have that blister problem. It looked like he was ready to have another outstanding night, by the way. This offseason, I think that's got to be his focus. We had talked about his lower legs, lower extremities. I think he worked on that well this year. This offseason needs to be, how do you not get that index finger getting blisters on it too often? But Tyler Stevenson would have a big home run. We'd get RBIs from Ellie. A huge one from TJ Friedl off of a lefty to give this Reds team a 3-2 victory. Great bullpen game, by the way. Nick Martinez comes in, sacrifices once again, as he consistently does with this team. I don't think he's worth $21 million, Joe, but he is pretty damn close based on the fact that he continues to come in and just do what needs to be done for this team. Scott Barlow was outstanding as well on really no rest coming off of that Atlanta series as we had anticipated. Ashcraft, Santillan, Pagan, big game for them. The Reds would then go on to really have a close game for the most part against the Cubs, but they would break it open in the fifth inning. Spencer Steer was the star of the game, a huge home run off of another addition for them in Kittredge. But the big story was for the Reds in Zach Littell. 7 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 earned run right at the beginning of the game. He gave up the 2 walks at the beginning of the game. He said he was nervous. No surprises there. His 1 earned run was on a solo home run, which we know is kind of his MO. 8 strikeouts. Again, Ashcraft. Mole comes in for a really big one, and Santillan closes it out. Really big game here for the Reds. Miguel Andujar as well with a big hit. We also had an amazing play. I believe it was in this game, Joe, or the game before. Actually, it was both games for Mr. Key Brian Hayes. Huge plays to save this team defensively. That's why they got him, folks, and he's doing the job he needs to. We had hoped for a sweep, but the Reds, we just couldn't get it done. Abbott goes 6 2/3, does give up 4 runs. A good majority of those coming in the 7th inning. You could tell he didn't have his best stuff, but he was out there battling, giving his guys a chance. Luis May would not be great, and Zulueta would keep us from really being able to try to stage a comeback in this one. But I think you and I both would agree, Joe, taking 2 out of 3 in Chicago, huge for this team. Seeing every single player that the Reds got in the trade deadline come up big in their first series, realistically, where all 3 of them are there from the beginning of the series. Really good stuff here for our Reds, especially on short rest. I think they said on the broadcast yesterday, Joe, I believe the wording was, this has felt like an eternity since they've been home, considering all the things that have happened with that Atlanta series and everything like that.
Yeah, it definitely has been, and this was a very good series for the Reds overall. Though, yes, it was a letdown in the last game, but I think that's fine when you take 2 out of 3 from the Cubs. You mentioned Lodolo's blister, 15-day IL for that. That's very frustrating. I don't know if we need to buy this guy some lotion for his hands or figure out how to toughen up. I don't know what it is, toughen up those hands, make sure the blisters stop happening, because I don't think I've ever heard of a baseball player having this many issues with blisters in my lifetime, at least. So that is crazy. But bullpen stepped up big time. You mentioned Scott Barlow. I think he might be like one of the unsung heroes of this team, like one of the guys who might be like the most important guy that no one talks about. He's shown up a lot of times, been used in bad situations where Terry has to say like, "Hey, I just need you to do this. I'm really sorry. It's going to hurt your stats and everything." And Barlow just takes the ball, and for the most part, he's done a good job this year. Not one of the guys we always talk about is like, Ellie is a star, or even some of the bullpen guys get a lot more love than him, but I really appreciate what he's done. Zach Littell had the great first start. You mentioned giving up the home run, but I think that's good, and he's going to really help this team as we have injuries to our pitchers, with Hunter Greene coming back this week, which we'll talk about later, but also Lodolo going on the IL. We need that guy who's like just a stable, solid starting pitcher like him to step in and help us with our depth. Awesome for Spencer Steer to get that home run. Miguel Andujar is getting hits off lefties, doing exactly what we signed him to do, or traded for him to do, and also doing more. We got the hits off some righties later in the week as well, so that was awesome. Two more things really quickly, Rob. Andrew Abbott, the slowdown may have started. He usually does finish the season slow. We'll just have to keep track of that. It was a bad start against the Cubs. So let's see how he's able to rebound. Can he be a guy who goes a full season? Can he go, longer in games? Can he do all that? That's a lot of the questions around Andrew Abbott, and I think he can. I think he'll be fine. He just had to build it up over the years. I just really hope that he can pitch, maybe not as well as he did in the first half, but pitch solid baseball for the last month and a half of the season here. That'd be huge for this team. As I mentioned, with the pitching injuries and everything else that we've had, it would be nice to have the guy who's been our ace this season step up like that. And then you mentioned the Mike Soroka stuff for the Cubs. Jed Hoyer, a day after this, says, "Yeah, I guess you'd say it was a bad trade for us." After Mike Soroka gets hurt,
I did not do that.
I'm like, the dude just got traded. He just got here. He just got hurt. The fans weren't happy with the trade to start because he's a guy who he started some, but like really, that wasn't really helping their starting rotation. They really wanted them to go out and get more starters. And I think Jed Hoyer, the GM, I think it was him, said, "Yeah, I guess you'd say it's a bad trade." And I'm like, oh God, that's great. That's crazy. I know he got injured. You can't predict injuries, but that's a crazy thing for any president of baseball operations or GM to say.
Yeah, that's wild. I did not hear that, but that's not going to inspire a lot of confidence. Quick comments here as well. Abbott, the big thing is everything he is missing arm side big time, which generally shows fatigue. That is just going to be something he's going to have to battle through. We are going to see him tonight. He's going twice this week, actually, Joe. So we need him to be that stopper until Greene comes back, which we'll talk about here shortly, and Lodolo comes back. Everything sounds good on Lodolo. We'll talk about that in a minute as well. And then, I want to talk Barlow. I mean, he's lowered his ERA as of the end of this week to a 3.73. He's been an absolute stud. He's a guy who very clearly is trusted by Terry. I think that was one of the moves that they went out and made because of him. I think the Reds got a steal on him. I don't know what his contract situation is, but if Terry continues to believe in this guy, hopefully they'll bring him back next year. He has been that, Terry's had his guys out of the bullpen. He's been one of them, in Santillan. And I think Pagan. Those are like his three guys that he's been like, I can count on them to get this done on this day. And he's pushing them to do it. And they do. I mean, they really do. That's where a good manager, by the way, comes into play. We've talked about this a lot, Joe. I don't know that David Bell was getting that kind of buy-in from his players, especially the ones who he wasn't like sitting with actively in the games. Terry is getting that out of his bullpen guys, out of every single player. I mean, this is where a good manager comes into play, and I am very happy to see it happening that way.
Yeah, just last thought there. $2.5 million this year is what Scott Barlow is making. It's a club option for $6.5 next year. Hopefully, we have the money to keep him because he has been invaluable for what we've done. Yeah, so it'd be nice. Yeah,
that would be great. We'll move on to Pittsburgh. Joe, Pittsburgh was frustrating. We knew the Paul Skeens game was going to be bad. We didn't expect it to be this rough. Brady Singer gives up 3 in the first inning. Gives up a home run to Brian Reynolds. The rest of the bullpens, specifically Brent Suter, finally has a bad game for the first time in a while. He has also been, a firefighter for this team at different points. Just a rough one for him. The offense couldn't get going. What was weird is that they did get Skeens for 7 hits. They were all scattered singles though. So, except for, I guess there were a couple doubles, Lux and Friedel, but they just really could never get anything going. I think the Pirates can pretty much pencil in 1 win a week at a minimum with Paul Skeens going. If you get him for 2 games, then you get him for 2 that week. But other than that, didn't see much. That being said, you head into the Friday game, one that you really felt like the Reds had a good shot in. Chase Burns, an outstanding outing, Joe. 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 10 strikeouts. I would argue possibly his best game yet. Graham Ashcraft comes in and gets it done. And then for the first time, again, really all season, Tony Santillan blows the game. I know a lot of people were upset about it, but I want to remind you, 2.85 ERA. This dude's been nails for the most part this season. He just had a bad one. They had that weird play as well in right field by Marte that caused an issue. Probably should have been an error, in my opinion. They really let Brian Reynolds get to them in the first 2 games of this series, but it was also the Reds hitting. The Reds still put up 8 hits, but they could only scratch across 2 runs. It was really frustrating, at least for me, Joe. That looks like they had Mitch Keller kind of on the ropes early on, and they couldn't capitalize on it. Those are just the kind of things that winning ball clubs need to take care of. Absolutely could have and should have won this game. It should not have been as close as it was, but that's how it goes. We all were panicking, including myself, but the next 24 hours were much better for the Reds. They would pull out a close one. They'd go down 1-0 early in the third in this game, but Nick Martinez, again, comes in 7 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 4 Ks. They gave the ball right back to Santillan in the same situation. He got it done. Pagan gets it done. Marte would be the star of this game along with Andujar. They had some big hits. Marte with 3 doubles in this game, which was insane. And they would go on to win 2-1 in another close one. But then it was the Sunday game. Holy crap, Joe. This was a marathon of a game. Littell would actually start off really well, but could not get through the 5th inning. They had to pull him. Barlow comes in, locks it down after Littell gives up 9 hits, 4 earned runs, and 3 strikeouts. Sam Mull would give up a run as well in his 1 1/3, mostly because Luis May would walk in every single person, basically, that he faced. Graham Ashcraft would come in and lock it down as well, and then Suter would finish it off. But it was mainly because the Reds' offense came to play. Andujar with his first home run. Brian Hayes had a double in this game. Marte continued to hit well. He had a big home run and a double. Steer with a big home run as well and a double. The offense played really well. Ellie had a nice RBI early in the game. He continues to be pretty consistent. It was just a good hitting game overall. Even Trevino legging out an infield hit was pretty funny, Joe. But this team got it done. They needed to. They had to lock in after Friday. They weirdly play very well on Saturdays and Sundays, Joe. I don't know what else to say about it, but they are weekend warriors, it would seem. And they would improve to 62-57. We'll talk about the standings here in a bit. What are your thoughts from that Pirates series? I had a few.
Yeah, I have some from the week overall, some from the Pirates series just by itself. It was a roller coaster of a week, you could say, up and down, but we finished on a high note. Chase Burns, another great start. Again, I think he really is starting to figure it out, and getting reps in against a Pirates lineup that isn't the greatest is always nice too. Yeah. Thank you, Nick Martinez, you coming around and doing whatever we need of you. I really appreciate the dedication to winning. And Zach Littell for stepping in and like I said, didn't have the greatest end to his second start, but put us in a position to win some baseball games, and that is appreciated. You mentioned Miguel Andujar. We're going to talk about him again. I'm really happy with that trade. He came up big time in the Pirates series as well with that home run. And Love Marte heating up a little bit as well, up to 287 average. And can he bring some power to this lineup? Can we move him up in the order? Can we move other guys down? That's just something I think we could talk about. I'm not a guy who complains about the lineup every day on Twitter, but I do think there are some changes that could be made to improve things. And yeah, that's pretty much for it for the Pirates series. I did notice this week Gavin Luck's not playing the best defense in the outfield. We are in a bind here because, Gavin Lux is probably going to get less playing time. And that's something you told me before the show that you believed. But if you have Lux and Andujar and Marte as guys you might want to play every day, it might be a possibility that they are playing every day. That is, you're going to have people. Marte's still learning the position. He has shown good flashes. I actually kind of like the potential there. But you're going to have a outfield that is not very good defensively, but you don't want to move any of the infielders either because the infield is really great defensively. So it really plays in our ballpark where we have these guys. Yes, they cost us some runs in the outfield, whether you put Andujar out there or Lux out there or Marte just learning things. And even Friedel is a solid defensive center fielder, I think, but there's plenty of guys who have way more range and kind of I think play better center field. So that's something to watch out for here. I noticed the outfield defense not being as good. I really do think our addition of Ke'Bryan Hayes really helped the infield defense, and he's made some incredible plays, as you mentioned this week, Rob. And yeah, I said win 4 a week. Good job by them to do that. I mean, that's what you need to do from here on out if you want to make the playoffs. They're getting helped by the Mets right now. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But if you can win 4 a week, whether you play 6 or 7 games, make sure you're winning each week. That is huge. And huge shout out to the bullpen because they are bailing us out right now. Again, they're like a league average bullpen, but when you consider how much they've had to go in and cover for us right now with our starting pitching injuries and some of the guys not being able to go very far in games, that is incredible. They are, I think, a 3.99 ERA right now, which I think is almost literally right in the middle in terms of bullpen ERAs for major league teams. So thank you, bullpen. Just overall, I think that this is the week they stepped up and we needed it. Hopefully this upcoming week, Rob, we get our starters. Obviously, Hunter Greene being back, get them to go farther in games and save the bullpen a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, look, that bullpen's only going to get better as Greene and Lodolo get healthy, honestly. Martinez will kick back to the bullpen. I fully expect Chase Burns to do so as well. And I think that bullpen is going to be dangerous coming up here. I can't say enough about, to your point, oh, man, the outfield defense is what it is, right? We're not going to places like Colorado where it's going to be tough. We're not going to, Boston where it's a really weird, a really weirdly shaped outfield that you have to worry about. A lot of our games are going to be in places we're going to, LA for 2 games, right? Or for 2 series. The Angels and the Dodgers are not going to be they don't have a weird outfield that we have to worry about. We're going to be playing a lot more games at home. When we look even into next month, San Diego, that one's a little weird, but not terrible. Oakland's literally playing in the most basic ballpark as possible. Not going to worry about that. Cardinals, same way. We end the season in Milwaukee. That's also a very basic outfield. So I'm not too concerned about it, Joe, if I'm being honest with you. And I don't think the Reds should be either. Like you said, I think Marte actually may end up being a very good outfielder. I think giving him time, he's actually very quick. He is clearly showing that he can hit. He's got a cannon of an arm. He threw somebody out at home in the Pirates series, which was huge, by the way. And I think once he learns the position a little bit more, we may have unintentionally stumbled into our right field option. I very much mean that. I've always felt, I know you know this, I have felt, even last year, I was like, this kid can hit. Last year felt like a mental thing. He had the full offseason to reset. He had a little bit of injury time this year, obviously, but this dude can hit. And I think that he could be a very, very good piece for this Reds team. And if he can learn how to play right or left field, preferably right because he's got a better arm, he's fast enough to where I think he could actually be a really good right fielder, dude. This is, I think, an unexpected change. I don't know if you were really thinking hey, Marte could kick to the outfield, especially during the middle of the season. But you give him a full offseason of outfield work, we seriously might be looking at a very, very nice addition to this Reds team in a very different position than what we thought.
Yeah, I think the flashes are there for Marte. I will not be criticizing him as much because he's still learning the position. And honestly, I do give a lot of the benefit of the doubt to Gavin Lux, who is trying to learn a new position for this team. And just never, it's tough. And I do worry about down the stretch how we're going to do. Gavin Lux's defense, I believe in the Dodgers series, maybe cost us one of those games. I know we lost 5-2, but there was like an error in the outfield that may have cost us 2 to 3 runs and then a bad throw.
Yeah.
I was talking about my brother about that the other day, and like there are games where typically I'm like, hey, defense doesn't matter. Like if you have Adam Dunn out in left field, he's going to hit you enough home runs that it makes up for the lack of defense, right?
Yep.
With our team not having the power to make up for that and having more of like a contact team, defense matters a lot more than traditional baseball teams. I mean, we're just at this point of the season, and Ellie De La Cruz is our leading home run guy in a ballpark made for hitters, and he has 19. And
Yeah.
he has been on a in terms of power, has been on a cold streak for a while now. I think he has 1 home run in like the last month. That's going to be tough to overcome. So I do think there are chances that it will be bad down the stretch, no matter who you put in there, how you move things around. But it's not a bad thing. Our long-term options are all, I mean, the guys we think will be here for at least 3, 4, 5 more years are all in the infield, and they are all very good defensively. Spencer Steer, we've mentioned a couple times, very, very good first baseman. Brian Hayes, one of the best defenders in the sport. Ellie frustrates us sometimes at shortstop, but he also makes up for it with some great range. And Matt McLain's a pretty solid defender too. So like, it's not the end of the world. And I think when you think about it long term, you're like, oh, Marte might be a good right fielder. Friedel's fine in center. We can go get a more traditional left fielder this off season. And maybe move around the DH. And again, I'm glad we got Andujar. I know we're going to talk about him in a second, but like we've needed a guy who's just a DH, and that is him. I mean, you don't want him in the field at all, but he's doing exactly what we traded him for him.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think you and I talked about it, I think 2 years ago at the beginning when we started the show, Joe, like, and not to get us too off track, but like, we talked about like the Reds need to figure out who is going to be on this team long term. Matt McLain has really kind of come back around. I know that he's been frustrating for a lot of fans, but like he's really hit pretty well over the last few months, really since his return. You can tell he's getting healthier. I think the power is just going to continue to kind of come back for him. I know he has 11 home runs, but it's still not nearly as much as I would have thought. Like this dude felt like a lock at 30 doubles a season, right? Like I think that's going to kind of continue to come back to him. I know he had that really horrible error in Pittsburgh yesterday, but like generally speaking, he's a very, very good defender. I'm starting to get less and less worried about him. He's raised that average to 226. I mean, he was down at like 160 for half the season. He's been hitting a lot better. You're seeing more hits to the opposite field, right? Marte has come back and he kind of just does whatever they ask him to. But like, dude, this dude has 220 less at bats than Matt McLain. He has the same number of doubles, more triples, and he's 3 home runs less. Like, your power is starting to come about. They just need to stop having times where all of them stop hitting. That's my big issue. Because I think Ellie is going to be a 30 home run guy. I think he may even go on an absolute tear here over the last month and a half and hit like 6 home runs. I think he'll get to 25. I think Marte has a chance to be a 15 home run guy this season. I think he's got a chance to be a 30 home run guy in the future. Spencer Steer is up to 14 home runs, Joe. He's got 60 less at bats than Ellie. He'd be pretty close based on what he's been doing right to Ellie at that point if he had the extra at bats. And if he didn't have that shoulder injury, he sneakily may actually be a better power hitter than we're giving him credit for. McLain as well. Stevenson is starting to heat up a little bit more. People forget he's only played in 69 nice games so far this season. It's just injuries are going to happen. Things are going to happen. This team is battling right now, and they're finding ways to get it done, and we're starting to learn who the young pieces are for our future. Very happy about that. Like we've talked about, I think it's going to end up just being left field and DH during this offseason, Joe. Who is going to play those 2 positions moving forward? And if you can get a big power bat in one of those 2 positions, this team really and truly has a very nice next 3 years, I think, in them.
Yeah, and if they want to try to get Austin Hayes back, again, he's not a guy. He's a guy who DHs for us a lot this year because they're trying to be cautious with him. But it's time to put him in left field. He's actually like a solid defender. You wouldn't think that because he's just the injury issues he's had and everything, and just like more, he is a power guy for us at least. But he's been solid. So maybe he comes back if we decide we want to spend money. Maybe we get him on a discount because we took him this offseason.
Well, he's got that option. I think it's a team option.
The option.
It's only $12 million. I believe it's only.
Okay,
let me check, but I think it's only 12 million. Let me check real quick.
Let's see if the Reds want to spend some money. If we gave a $21 million qualifying offer for Nick Martinez, I would say it's well worth Austin Hayes at that price. But that's just something to consider. We could have him back in left field and get another DH. We could, like, there is some wiggle room here depending on what they want to do monetarily. They could Hayes and Duhar. I wouldn't mind re-rolling out this team with just a little bit more bullpen help next season, to be honest.
Yeah, I actually don't hate that either. Look, I mean, and it would be relatively cheap. I think what they could probably do, so it's a mutual option for Hayes, $12 million. What I think they could do, Joe, really and truly, is go to him and say, hey, we're going to pay you $20 million over the next 2 years. You know, they nix that mutual option and they just go $20 million. It gives him a little bit more guaranteed. It gives them somebody who they feel like they can trust over the next 2 years in his 30 and 31 season. He gets paid a little bit more. I think he likes being here as well. And I think it gives us a nice little option. And if for some reason one of them just doesn't hit next year, right, Joe, like we can very easily just go out at the trade deadline and go get somebody. So I don't mind that plan. I don't even mind Andrew Hart. This guy has hit for a while at this point. So, and I don't think he'd be that expensive compared to most people. And then I think at that point, you're just relying on, you know, maybe a little less star power, but more of our, you know, head coach kind of doing his thing. So I'm okay with that. So yeah, let's do injuries real quick. Hunter Greene, great news, coming back Wednesday. They needed him probably on Friday, but I don't know. You know, we got it done Friday anyway, so I guess that's fine. But you know, Hunter Greene's going to be back on Wednesday. Huge upgrade for this team. It's just up here, Joe. If he can be okay up here, I think he's going to be fine. Lodolo, we talked about the blister. They are expecting it to be 15 days, but no more than that. That's really good for the Reds. Yes, we're going to miss him for 3 starts, but that still gives him about 6 more or 7 more throughout the rest of the season. I think you and I would both take that, especially if he is healthy. I'm sure that they are working literally every day to make sure that the blister goes down and that he doesn't have a repeat. Wade Miley through the live hitters. I think if he's ready, they're going to try to bring him back and just have him be available as we go down the stretch. You know, maybe they even bring him in. It's going to sound really bad, but maybe they bring him in, Joe, for 2 starts in place of Abbott, right? And give Abbott kind of like a, you know, phantom injury to give him like a 10-day span. I actually was hoping with Hunter Greene coming back and Lodolo, I actually thought it might not be a bad idea since Abbott seemed like he was slowing down a little bit to have one of those phantom injuries and then allow him to kind of rest up for the rest of the season. I know it sounds bad, but I know they do it. So there you go. Last one here is Julian Aguiar. Did throw off a mound after Tommy John for the first time. I have not seen anything about Brandon Williamson. I'm Rhett Lauder. People are just now noticing the 2026 designation. We noticed it a couple weeks ago, Joe. But that's where we're at with the injuries. Any quick thoughts on that before we check in with the additions at the trade deadline?
Yeah, just hoping Hunter Greene is back to form. He didn't actually pitch that well in the rehab starts, and that is shocking and kind of surprising. But hoping he did get some strikeouts in the last one, I believe. But I think that's going to be something to watch. Can he be a shell of the guy he was before the injury? Would be amazing for us. And then, yeah, Nick Lodolo, the blisters are frustrating, but let's get him healthy. And then, yeah, I wouldn't mind skipping one Abbott start if that's what it takes, you know, give him a week off and bring him back. The other guys, again, they're just break glass in case of emergency guys, but it is nice to have more depth because while I think our initial plan is if one of the starters goes down is to keep on moving Nick Martinez back and forth, it is always good to have guys you can throw in there. And I'm not really sure I want to see them in, but you got to have someone in AAA ready to bring up if we have more injuries because our young guys just keep on getting hurt.
I'll say this. I think Wade threw well enough to where I'd be like, okay, he's going to give you 5 innings. He might give up 2 or 3 runs, but he's going to keep you in a game, and I would be fine with that personally. So we'll have to see what goes on with that. Let's check in with the trade deadline acquisitions here. Ke'Bryan Hayes has been awesome defensively already. I don't know how many runs saved he's had since he's been a Red, Joe. I don't even know where we would look at that right now, but 34 at bats, 176. 200 on base, 294 OPS, 1 walk, 2 Ks. You and I had talked about this. It's very weird to me because he hits the ball really hard a lot of the time, to be honest with you. And I don't really know what, like, what is wrong with the way that he is just not able to kind of get on base. I don't understand it, personally. He's got a decent exit velocity. His max exit velocity is down a little bit, but nothing crazy. The launch angle is up from last year, which is good. But his expected batting average is around 246. That's really not bad. He is barreling up the ball. He's got a 45.8% hard hit rate. His K rate is pretty low. His walk rate isn't very good, but like I don't know. Like it's not like he's a bad hitter necessarily. It's just that like it's just going at people. I don't know what else to say. Like I'm literally looking at this stuff right now. Like he's squaring the ball up. His bat speed's a little bit lower than average, but nothing that you would be, worried about. His chase rate isn't very bad. His whiff rate isn't bad. His K rate is solid. It's literally just once the ball leaves the bat, he's not able to find, green pastures. And I don't really understand why.
Yeah, I think he's losing. I think through the injuries, he's lost a little bit of the muscle maybe he should have at this point in his career, right? Like he's getting to the age where he should be like starting to put on the muscle and be more of a power guy, while also not hopefully losing any of the defensive stuff. Had 15 home runs a couple years ago, and before the injuries, I think he was a player you could say could track to maybe hit 20 or so, 25, if he was at full strength. He is hitting the ball hard, and it does seem like he's unlucky. It gets to the point where once we get farther away from the trade deadline, that will even out a little bit more. He'll get up to, hopefully, his career average of like 253. I think hope was where he can get up to with the Reds. It's one of those things where if it goes on for a prolonged period, like some of the guys we talked about, like Will Benson, where he's batting 211 after having so many at-bats, we can have that conversation because then you're just like, hey, it's just Santiago Espinal up there again. But Espinal hits better than that. But we're not even close to that. I think the hits are going to start falling. The defense has been great. I think it's going to make Ellie better, too, having someone so good at third base on his side, too. So not the greatest start from the batter's box. He didn't get a double yesterday against his old team, the Pirates. Let's see if he can get something going now that we come home.
Yeah, and he hit a home run in that first game. Like, at a minimum, he's very good as well at getting runners over, like that kind of stuff. I think he will get better over time. I don't know that we're going to end up having to eat that whole contract. We'll have to see, but I'm not going to worry about him too much yet. I think he's still a really nice addition, and if he's your worst hitter on your team, who cares? That's kind of where I'm at with it. So we'll move on here to Zach Littell. He has been, I think, as advertised so far. I mean, really, outside of one inning, he's been very good. 2 starts, 11 and 2/3 innings pitched, 5 earned runs, 2 walks to 11 strikeouts. Those 2 walks, I think, were in the very first inning of his very first game with us. 120 whip, not great. 250 average, not great. But I think that those will continue to go down.
Yeah, he's a guy that I think I mentioned that we just needed a solid pitcher to come in, especially to give our starting rotation more depth. When we have the flexibility of Nick Martinez move to the bullpen, that is great. Some of these young guys are going down. If he can go out and eat innings and keep us in some games like he did, even in the Pirates game, just keep us in games. That is going to be huge moving forward. We don't need him to be one of the top aces. We need Andrew Abbott, Hunter Greene, Nick Lodolo to pitch like the aces that they are. And just give us innings, give us some solid starts. And, I would say that I'm pretty impressed with what I've seen from him so far. And I think, again, once we get settled in for more than just like the 2 games he's played for so far, I think we're going to see even better results down the line.
What I love about him too, Joe, is he's a bullpen guy as well. So once we get, hopefully, to the postseason, right? Should we get to the postseason? You have him and Martinez back there who can be guys who can do a lot of different things for you. Like if an early game, it doesn't look like it's going well, you bring in Littell, right? Or Martinez. And they can just eat innings. This team is very versatile, and I kind of love it, to be honest with you. And I think Littell is one of the best splitters I've seen in a while. Like we saw what Fernando Cruz's was last year, but that one was just so wild. Like yes, the break was a little bit more, but he had like literally no control over it. Littell has control over his splitter much more consistently, and that's why he doesn't really walk many guys. And for a guy who throws so many splitters, that is a rarity. So. Really cool to see from him. I really like that. Miguel Andujar, since starting and getting more at bats, has been absolutely outstanding. He had a home run yesterday. He's been hitting doubles. He's been hitting singles. He's been hitting 375 average, 500 on base percentage, 688 OPS, 3 walks, 5Ks. The 5Ks are a little bit high. I don't love that, but for a power hitter, you'll take what you can get. He's going to be a guy who I think is going to strike out a good bit, Joe, if I'm being completely honest with you. I'm a little bit worried about that right now, but look, man, I don't think you or I are complaining about the way that this guy is playing right now, and I think we're going to be really happy with him as a hitter here in Cincinnati, and I'm kind of sad that we may only get him for a couple months.
Yeah, I mean, it was a guy who was just kind of broken by some injuries early in his career, and he got back to being what he was early. Like I think he came in second rookie of the year for the Yankees in 2018, and he made some stops. Went to Pittsburgh, and then to Oakland, and then I guess to Sacramento as well with the Athletics. And he got back to doing what he does best, which is just hit the baseball. And it's nice. Like, he's not a huge power hitter. He did have 27 home runs in that almost rookie of the year season he had for the Yankees. But that's what we need. We needed a guy who could hit left-handed pitching. He's done that so far. He's also provided a spark against righties we talked about as well. But left-handed pitching was the big thing. And a guy who, if we're not going to have power, we need people who hit the baseball. He hit 285 last year for Oakland. This year in Oakland, he hit 298. He's up to 375 with us now. He is a guy who is an expert hitter and a guy that I think can be a very good addition to this team. I think we mentioned the consistency is something that we want to see better. We can't have games where we're scoring 1 run all the time, especially when we're in the playoff push. He's a guy who, if there is a lefty out there at least, and if he does play against righties, he doesn't seem like he's going to let you go that cold. Like, he's going to be an extra bat in the lineup where we're not just throwing someone out there. If you look at some of his stats by pitch type, 333 against four-seam fastball this year, 298 against sinker, 295 against slider, 625 against changeups, 333 against curveballs. If you throw a cutter, if you throw a sweeper, maybe you have a good chance at him. The stats are pretty bad against those, or even a split finger, 200 average, and a cutter, 200 average. But that is just insane that he's hitting that many different types of pitches, like well above league average. Hard hit percentage is pretty good too. I really do think this is one of the things at the end of the year where if the Reds make the playoffs, this might be one of the better trades anyone's made, because also we didn't have to give up much for him. We saw the Mets give up so much for their bullpen pieces, and even the Padres give up a lot for the players they acquired. This was really, really good job. It's a really, really good fit. If you weren't going to go get a guy who's going to mash you 40 home runs a season, this is the type of guy you want to get, and I'm very happy that they were able to get him, and they're giving him opportunities to not just play against lefties, but righties as well.
Well, and that's the thing. So, I'm looking at it. Unfortunately, he's not under contract next year. I hope the Reds maybe make a little run at him, like you and I have talked about. But, I was wrong. He actually really doesn't strike out very much for a guy who hits as well as he does. For a team that needs more power, what he does provide, Joe, so he had an injury. It felt like the Yankees kind of forgot about him. Then he kind of forgot about himself in Pittsburgh and kind of refound himself like you talked about in Oakland. This is an upswing guy. Like, he is well on the upswing. He has a seventh of his strikeouts in just 7 games with us. Like, this dude should be playing more often. I don't understand. Like, it seems like maybe they just use him in the right situations, because I'm still a little surprised. I don't know, Joe, if he had an injury earlier this year, but 75 games last year, only 60 this year, heading into it at this point. So he's playing about every other day in all reality. But like you said, I mean, he had 47 doubles in that year. I mean, and 27 home runs. The thing about this team is, yes, they may not have the home run power, but they do have a good job. Like, they do a good job of getting people on base. And if you have a bunch of people getting on base in front of Ellie, Austin Hayes, Miguel Andujar, Noel V. Marte, right? If you have those 4 guys all coming up after you've gotten Friedel on base or McClain on base or even Ellie on base, right? Or let's just say, like we saw the other day, I think it was literally yesterday, it was like Ellie and Hayes got on, Andujar hits them in, or Noel V. Marte hits them in. Like, I think literally it might have been, who was in the booth yesterday?
I do not recall.
It was Sadak and...
I think it was Cowboy, right?
No, Cowboy wasn't.
Then it had to be Welsh, right?
Yes, it was Chris Welsh. Yeah, he literally said, if we can get to Marte, if we can get to Steer, and they did, and they got them in, like, you're getting into a position now where this lineup is really kind of turning over in a really big way, Joe, and they are finding ways to get it done. And if Andrew Har and Key Brian Hayes, two big additions for this team, they don't strike out a lot. That was something we have not had a lot on this team, right? They're going to make contact. They're going to find green pastures. They're going to move runners over. This guy may hit 10 more doubles and 4 more or 5 more home runs for this team down the stretch. He may end up having like 25 or 30 RBIs if this team can continue to just get on base the way that they do. This offense looks kind of potent if they can stop having these patches where they have 3 or 4 games in a row where they just don't hit at all.
Yeah, and one of the interesting stats about baseball overall this year is, I believe it was like yesterday or 2 days ago, the top 5 teams in batting average were actually the top 5 teams in the league. So everyone wants to say batting average doesn't matter. For some reason, it does this year, and it is, we can go to advanced analytics, and that is nice sometimes, but there needs to be a little bit of balance. Like, if you hit people, if you get hits and you move people over and you just do the right thing, sometimes it works out. And, he played in 62 games against righties this year so far. He's batting .274. So even he's one of our better hitters against righties this year too. So I'm with you. I think he should be playing. He should play almost every day. Give him maybe 1 day a week off if it's against a righty. Give Gavin Lux a spot if that's a competition. Give someone else in the lineup. Against lefties, he has to play all the time. We talked about last week or 2 weeks ago that he had the best stats against lefties. I think OPS wise, other than Aaron Judge in the last 2 years, and that is just crazy. So, yeah, sign me up. Start him every day against lefties. You can righties. If you want to give him a day, like 1 out of every 2 or 3 days off against righties, that's fair. But like, he needs to be in the lineup every day, and we need that average guy to help the consistency. Like, we can't be the home run or bust team, which we have been. If you look at all the stats, where we were very good when we hit home runs, we have 120 home runs on the season. But if we don't hit a home run, we're out of it. Like, that can't be the case when you have only a guy at 19 home runs as your leader at this point in the season. So if you can't beat them with the home runs, then start getting people on base.
Yeah, I think they're going to, and I think that's going to cause pitchers to use a lot of innings. Like, this is a pretty well-built team, Joe. They've got a chance. They just got to stay healthy, and they got to stop being incredibly streaky. They just need to be a normal amount of streaky. I think we'll be all right. In the hunt, speaking of, the Cubs right now, so we are clearly playing for the wild card. Nobody's catching the Brewers. I think we're 12 games out against the Brewers, which is insane considering how well we're actually playing, I think, for most seasons. The Cubs are 4.5 games up in the wild card. The Padres 3 games up now. The Mets are the bottom team right now in the wild card. The Reds are a game and a half out. Cardinals, those damned Cardinals, are 3.5 games out. And then the Giants are hovering around there at 4 games. Joe, we talked about it last week. I said one team is going to fall off. The Cubs, Padres, or the Mets. We've seen it happen every single year. The Reds have gotten lucky. 2 of those 3 teams have really struggled lately, including a team that we just played in the Cubs. The Mets have been awful. I think you said they've won 1 out of their last 12 games, maybe, something like that. They have fully collapsed at this point, and their mental has just got to be in the absolute trash. Now, I don't know who they're playing coming up. Let me check the schedule real quick and see who they've got coming up. I don't think they're getting many breaks, though. From what I remember, they are also one of those teams that have a really tough schedule coming up. So they've got the Braves, who we know have been playing much better lately. Like, they don't have a lot of pieces, but they're playing well with what they have. Then you have a really hot Mariners team. They've finally learned how to hit. They got Josh Naylor, the guy who I really personally wanted, who has somehow learned how to steal bases as well, Joe. I don't know if you've been seeing that, but he has like 7 steals since the trade deadline, which is insane considering his size and his speed. They got a Nationals team that'll fight you and the Braves, so they're getting a little bit of a break. But then they go Phillies and Marlins for 7, Detroit, us, Philadelphia again, Rangers, Padres, a little break with the Nationals, and then Cubs, Marlins. Like, our schedule is much, much easier than that once we get through this week. This may be the team that we have been looking for a full collapse from, and I think we may be getting it. What are you seeing? How are you feeling about it? I'm going to look at the Cubs schedule coming up here in just a minute, too. They got the Blue Jays, Pirates. They've got the Brewers for 5, Joe, because they have a doubleheader on the 18th, starting a doubleheader, not even ending the series with a doubleheader. An Angels team, a Giants team that's still in it. They do get the Rockies, which will be good, but then they got Braves, Nationals, Braves, Rays, Pirates, Reds, Mets, and Cardinals. Cubs have a bit of an easier schedule. I will give them that, but that, dude, 5 against the Brewers and 3 against the Jays. This is an important next 10 days here for our Reds, especially with those two teams.
Yeah, I think the simplest way to put this for everyone is we are cheering for the Brewers every time they don't play us. We are cheering for the Phillies every time they don't play us, which obviously we're playing them now.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see if that changes. Maybe that changes where the Mets pick up some steam this week and the Phillies drop, and then we're cheering against the Phillies. And we're cheering for the Dodgers. I think those teams are pretty much locked into the playoffs right now, if I had to guess. But there is a lot of potential. Yes, the Mets have won one of their last 12, 1-9 in their last 10. They are falling apart. The pressure from New York media and everything is getting on them. They gave up a lot to get some of the players they have on their roster at the trade deadline, and it is not going well. That is something we're going to have to keep on monitoring. I don't expect them to stay this bad. I do think they'll pick up some wins. They're very talented. But can we take advantage that we're still 1.5 games back when I would say we didn't have our best week either? Yes, we won 4 games. That's nice, but we could have done better against the Pirates. The Cubs, that starting pitch, we talked, Mike Soroka was the guy they wanted to get, and it's just that's not even good. I feel like they could have gone and gotten another ace or something.
Mm-hmm.
And 5-5 in their last 10. They're a team that I think if other teams can get through their bullpen, that's nice. I think the offense has started to fall off a little bit, especially Pete Crow Armstrong's getting a lot of I wouldn't say hate, but he's getting a lot of criticism right now of how he's played. And that's fair. I mean, we're getting to the dog days of summer, the end of summer, where some of the guys who are young are going to start hitting those walls, just like our pitchers do sometimes with the injuries.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you're right. The schedule isn't the most favorable when you got those 5 games against Milwaukee. So these next 2 weeks for us are critical. This is the toughest week we have probably in terms of the rest of the season in terms of 2 good teams you're playing. There are more impactful weeks. Like we play the Mets, we play the Padres later on. But when you have a team like the Phillies who are first in their division, you have a team like the Brewers first in their division. Need to make some moves here, and at least I would say at the end of this week, at least stay within 3 games of that last wild card spot. Even if we have a somewhat down week, just stay somewhere in that under 3 game spot. Because if it goes and tailspins into more, that's where it gets tougher to kind of make those games up. If the Mets do figure things out, if the Cubs somehow get through without having the greatest starting pitching. So you're right. Some teams always does fall, and the Mets are the team that fell right now. And let's just, we are officially at the point of the season. I would say even last week we are on scoreboard watch. We are watching the Cubs. We are watching the Mets. We're watching We're not expecting the Padres to maybe fall out of contention, but we are watching them as well, just to watch. And even the teams like the Cardinals and Giants, I really don't think they're going to be much of a threat down the stretch. But we're watching them too. We're cheering for everyone else. Big Braves fan these next couple of weeks as they play the Mets twice in the next I think week or 2 weeks. So that is going to be fun. We'll have to see. It's going to be fun watching all these baseball games.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I'm really excited. Watching that Brewers walk-off yesterday was crazy. I saw them down 5-0. I was like, what do I feel like they're going to come back and win this game? They did. Should have put some money down on it. Didn't. But, that's how it goes. All right. We are down to the Phillies and the Brewers, Joe. It's time. We got Andrew Abbott versus Taijuan Walker. Then we have Brady Singer versus Ranger Suarez and Hunter Greene versus Christopher Sanchez. What an incredible opportunity for the Reds at home. Look, Abbott's been falling off. Taijuan Walker, I always, butcher it, but he has been solid. He continues to be a guy who finds, spots on teams, including this team. He is having a much worse year than Abbott, but he's still having a good year. He's got a 3.53 ERA. He's been pretty solid. He does give up a bit of home runs. He doesn't strike out a lot of guys. He's a contact guy. This feels like a really good opportunity in this one for the Reds. They are a contact team in a pretty big way, right? We talked about that. Ranger Suarez has been absolutely outstanding yet again this season. Christopher Sanchez has been even better, but our team got better against lefties. So we will have to see. Again, neither of them, Sanchez more than Suarez, are huge strikeout guys. The batting average against is up a little bit on both of them. Taijuan Walker especially feels like he has really kind of tiptoed around things, Joe, in terms of, getting runners on and getting out of it. It's a solid bullpen for the Phillies, but they were always looking for more help with it at the deadline. How are you feeling? This is a good team that can hit, but as we've seen and we've talked about, it's really only Kyle Schwarber that has been the major threat this year so far. Bryce Harper, I believe he's back, right? He obviously can still hit. Outside of him, though, I don't know. Like this is a team that definitely has some pretty glaring holes, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm feeling better about this series than maybe people would think. This is a team that's traditionally you would say like, oh, the home runs are going to be a threat. And we still have to watch out for them, especially Kyle Schwarber. But they rank 12th in home runs. This is a lineup that's stacked and should be top 5, in my opinion, in Major League Baseball in terms of home runs. So, yes, our ballpark might give them some more home runs than maybe we want. But let's try to keep them in the ballpark. That's going to be tough. Now, last series we played them, we were 1-1 with them. And we lost the second game of the series to Ranger Suarez. We ended up losing the third game of the series to Zach Wheeler. We don't face Zach Wheeler, so that's good. Take Zach Wheeler out of the equation because he's awesome. Ranger Suarez is good as well, but we actually got him out of the game in 5 innings. Now, he has had some injuries in the past where they don't always like him going that far in the season, so that or far in the game. And I think at that point in the season that made sense. But we got him 5 hits in 5 innings pitched. We got 1 earned run off of him. We had 2 walks, and we got him out of the game in 5 innings, and that's huge. So do I think we can hit Ranger Suarez in this one? Yes. I'm happy to be wrong if that does happen. We only got that 1 run off of him. That's the only run we got the whole game. I think the luck will change a little bit with the bullpen. Phillies bullpen, 4.28 ERA. They did improve that at the deadline by getting Duran from the Minnesota Twins. I think there's more opportunity than people think. We're going to have a packed house tonight for the Snoop Dogg concert. Tickets are going at a minimum for $146 according to ESPN. So packed house. I'm going to go 2-1. I think Abbott's going to pitch better this game. I don't know about long term. I do think the fatigue thing is big. Singer's coming off a bad start. I think that he's going to rebound and have a solid start. Maybe keep us in the game against Suarez. And Hunter Greene, I think even if he's not at his best, I think he might be able to keep us in the game for the third game. So really, I'd say it's a bunch of 50-50 games. Like, you could flip a coin on all of these. You could say they go 1-2. You could say they go 2-1. I think any team sweeping is kind of a little bit much. But, I'm going to go 2-1.
Yeah, so what's interesting is I remember looking back at this one, Joe, and this was the first series where I started to feel like, hey, maybe there's something here for this team, right? If you remember, they just come out of Boston, had a weird weekend, like a weird week series against them. They went into Philly, and they played really well. The big thing here for me, Joe, is the Phillies are 16 games above 500 at home. They are only 3 games above 500 on the road. The Reds are a much better team at home than they are on the road. They're 7 games above 500. I'm going to go 2-1 as well. I think they're going to play really well. I used to dread left-handed pitching. I actually think with Noel V. Marte hitting better, with Spencer Steer hitting better, with Matt McClain hitting better, and with the addition of Miguel Andujar, I think lefties are going to be a little bit less of a problem than we're used to. I'm going to pick a 2-1 as well. Maybe I'm just riding the high of finally winning 2 games against the Pirates, but this team plays really well against better teams, or I guess better teams, and I mean, this is a good opportunity for them. I really feel good about this one. And the start times are kind of weird. So we're going to be used to playing with the sun in our eyes in different ways at our own ballpark than they are going to be. They talked about that on the broadcast as well. I think the worst one is going to be that Wednesday game, which actually really helps Hunter Greene because he throws a hell of a lot faster than almost anybody else they're going to see. I really am. I'm feeling a 2-1. We could also finally get our first sweep against us for the year, and I'd end up crying. But, I think the 2-1 makes sense in this one.
Yeah, and honestly, one of the games that I forgot to mention this part too, where we faced a lot of these good pitchers, we had Chase Burns pitching one of those games. And it was the game, I think he went 4.2 innings, and we were like, oh, okay, so he's not as bad as we thought in Boston, where he was tipping his pitches. He was coming off that Boston start where it was awful. So, I think it was his 3rd start in the bigs at that point. Now he's better too. He's not pitching in the series, but when you have a series where you're kind of hoping one of the games where Chase Burns isn't broken, that we're in a different spot now. He's not broken and he's not pitching in this one. The other pitchers are more, I would say, solidly. They're veterans. They're more solid baseball pitchers than Burns was in his 3rd career start.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I'm excited. I'm excited to watch some Reds baseball against this team. I think this is a potential playoff. I don't know. what would you call it? Preview, I guess would be the way I'd put it as well. We could see something like this again, and that would be interesting. Okay, we head into the Brewers. This is a big one. We got Chase Burns. I think that could end up being Nick Martinez, by the way. That would be the day that he would normally pitch. With Greene coming back, I do think Burns goes to the bullpen. They have Burns listed right now as the starter. I think they may go Martinez here, but if they really feel like Burns is like healthy and doing well, I can see him starting. Either way, he'll go up against Tobias Myers. Then we'll have Zach Littell versus Quinn Priester, and then we'll get another Abbott start versus Jose Quintana. So, look, Quinn Priester has been solid. You and I talked about this earlier. He doesn't necessarily go late into games. He does have a higher batting average against, which is not great for him. Tobias Myers has not been very good for this team. Jose Quintana has been better, but still a 252 batting average against and a 1.34 WAR, which is one of the worst for their starting pitchers. We're dodging Brandon Woodruff. We're dodging Freddie Peralta as well, which is really, really big for us. Joe, I think, and then Jacob Mizorowski as well is just not available. He will still be on the injured list, I believe, right? I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure. So I'm guessing a little bit on these pitchers, by the way. I had to go back and look, but that's generally how it's going to look. Look, this Brewers team is really good. They're hitting really well. They are solid up and down the lineup. They are not necessarily having anybody who's like playing out of their mind. Isaac Collins is about as close as you could say. Sal Frelick is also having a great year. Andrew Vaughn has obviously been weirdly incredible since they picked him up. Like, this team is just consistent, top to bottom. That being said, the Reds, I cannot explain why, but they play very well on the weekends, Joe. That's just kind of what they do for the most part. You got Friday games in their really nice uniforms. I don't know. I'm feeling pretty good about this series. Where are you at?
Pretty good. This is the team that is probably getting the most out of the least amount of talent. Like, they are the best baseball team, not by talent-wise, but just they outperform everything. They're doing a very good job. They deserve a lot of credit for what they're doing. Yes, we are fans of the Brewers from this point out until the last series of the year where we play them again. Don't really like Kristen Yelich isn't quite as good as he used to be. Obviously, they don't really have, like you said, they don't really have that star that really scares you. The starting pitching has been incredible. They just have so many guys, and then Mizorowski comes up and he's awesome. So glad we were missing him. We were also dodging Freddie Peralta, who's a very, very good pitcher for them as well. He's their ace and kind of the guy leading along with Mizorowski. So this is going to be good. I'm glad we got the matchups we do. Their bullpen ERA is just above us in the standings. They're 3.88. We are 3.99. So that is interesting to note that it's not like a huge strength. They just seemingly overperform what they should do. So Jackson Churio, I believe, is injured right now too. I'm not sure if he's coming back. That helps us. He's a very good player for them in center field. But yeah, I'm going to go 2-1 in this series, Rob. I said it before, win 4 a week. I think they can do it. They play good against the good teams. We have struggled against the Brewers for a long time now. This season included, I think we have 2 wins out of the 6 or 7 games we've played so far this year. This one's at home. We are, I think, in a good spot to have a good year. They, not just Jackson Churio, I think Rhys Hoskins and Jake Bowers are both hurt as well. They do have Andrew Vaughn now, but I think this is a chance to take advantage of it. I will not be shocked if the Brewers come in here and win 2 out of 3, just because they are that solid of a team and consistently go above expectations. But I do like the trend that our team is on in the last couple of weeks here too.
Yeah, look, I think it comes down to, can they expel their demons? This Brewers team is clutch. That's really what they're good at. I don't know that they have had to face the kind of pitching that we're going to be sending up against them. Very much, right? Like, I think the Mets pitching is solid, but not, I wouldn't say better than ours. Braves pitching, not better than ours. Nationals pitching, definitely not better than ours. Cubs pitching, not better than ours. Marlins pitching, not better than ours. Mariners, that's the last time they faced good pitching. Now, they did win 2 out of 3 in that series, and they did sweep the Dodgers before that. I mean, good God, this team has been incredibly hot. It's kind of scary to see. I mean, it feels like they almost never lose, but look, their last bad series, if you want to call it that, was against the Marlins, and it was almost 2 weeks ago. So, over 2 weeks ago, I should say. So, they are due for some bad games. There's absolutely an opportunity for us to kind of come in and take care of business, Joe. They are slightly worse on the road, if you want to say that. They're almost 20 games over at home, which is kind of crazy, but we won't play them again at home until the very end of the season. So, look, I'm going to pick 2-1 purely based on the fact that I think this team has to win. I keep saying that. They have to win. They know that. The Brewers, I think there's going to be a point where the Brewers are going to feel a little too comfortable. I think that time could be coming soon. I think it may come in Cincinnati. I'm going to call 2-1 here. We're going to go 4-2 for this weekend, Joe. And I'm going to go bold, and I'm going to say that puts us in the wild card position for the first time since early on in the season.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think 2-1 is a good pick. Obviously, I did it myself. Just think at some point we have to beat the Brewers too. Just statistically, it can't keep on happening with all the Pirates and the Brewers. Us always are underperforming against these teams. I mentioned keep on winning 4 a week. If you win 4 a week, that puts us at 90 wins, and I'm not like that might be the number you need if the Mets do start turning it around. I think it's going to be closer to like 88. Win 4 games a week. I think they can do it this week, even though they are playing better teams. Honestly, I might have more questions next week when they play the Angels and the Diamondbacks, even though it's on the road. It's a West Coast trip. It's the second to last West Coast trip we're going to have. We also go play the A's, but like that might be tougher because it's on the road. You're not playing as good teams. We seem to get up for big games. We don't get up for these other games. So in a weird way, I feel a little bit more confident this week than I might next week.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Joe, we're going to wrap it up here. You got to go get a haircut, apparently. So, let's give us your wise words then before we head out.
All right. Couple news and notes here. We have 5 straight Thursdays off starting with this week. So let's get those bullpen pitchers rested. Let's see if we need to have people have an extra day off before their next start. This is the time to do it. Then we go, I think, finish with 1 day off after that point, which is like late September on a Monday. What else do we have? Cincy shirts, shout out to them. They are giving me a t-shirt for using my tweet to promote their shirts about Bristol, where it says I quit Bristol or I left Bristol, whatever it says. It's in the mail. I'll wear it on the podcast next week if it is in fact here. Thanks for that. I did quit Bristol. I thought it was kind of stupid that they were playing that game that night, and it was not the most fun, but thank you to them. Great place to get your shirts if you're in the Cincinnati area and fan of the sports teams. And then also just we have Rob and I have our hats in different rings here. Rob, video games, and we all play fantasy football and stuff. And new way to decide draft order for fantasy football. I came up with this for my home league. Is we all drafted 4 players from baseball teams, and whoever has the most home runs by the time our draft starts, the day before our draft starts, is going to have the first pick.
How are you doing so far? I love that.
We've just finished the draft today. And so I guess we're going to start tonight. Is going to be the first
who's on your team?
About 12 days. I have second overall pick in the snake orders, but I had Kyle Schwarber. So
great pick.
I'll be not rooting for him this week. Nick Kurtz from the A's, who's killing it and has a lot of home runs in a little bit of time because he hasn't been up the whole year. James Wood from the Washington Nationals and Randy Arozarena. I'll be cheering.
Your team is stacked.
Yeah, well, I think some people just went by the top home run getters. There was one guy who just went from this guy has 4 home runs last week. I'm going to take him, and it's like Shea Langoliers, who has I don't know, I guess 15 or 16 home runs, and then Andrew Vaughn, who has 12 this season, who hasn't played all that much, but it's a whole thing. So just another idea for fans out there. I know if you have a fantasy football league, a lot of people have fantasy football or fantasy baseball. This is a cool way to do something different to decide draft order where everyone can participate no matter where they are in the country. So that's what we decided to do. I'll be tracking all the home runs, and I'm dreading Kyle Schwarber hitting home runs in this series, but at least if he does, I'll have something out of it.
Hey, if the Reds are up 10-0, he can hit 4 home runs and they can win 10-4, and that's fine. I'd love to see you get first pick on that. That's great idea. Genuinely, did not know about that until right now, so that's really cool. All right, guys. Well, that is going to wrap it up for us on this one. Thanks for watching. Let's go Reds, and from our house to yours, we'll catch you on the next one.